Okay, so now we're going to move on to the audience participation piece, and you'll find a microphone at the end of the table here where I'm pointing, and it has the red light, yellow light, green light for you, so you can line up behind that. And I have some instructions for you. Please try to focus your comments on this session topic, which is the sampling metrics and denominators. We'll give you 3 minutes to speak. The light system will keep time and notify you when your time is complete. It works like a traffic signal. The light is green, continue speaking. When it turns yellow, you have 1 minute, and you should begin to quickly close. And then the red light means that you should stop immediately and return to your seat. And so it looks like we do have someone lined up, so please go ahead. Start with your name and affiliation and any conflicts of interest.
Hi, I'm Steve Butler again. I'm from Inflection, and I work with the NaviPro ASIMV data stream. There was another topic that I would like to sort of introduce for folks to consider. And one of the things that we have been pondering is a concern about using utilization as an offset, as a denominator, as we've been discussing here. And essentially what that assumes is that if you have, in our case we use zip code, so we look at abuse within a zip code and the prescribed availability at that zip code. And essentially by using it as an offset, the assumption is that if you have a zip code with, say, 20,000 tablets dispensed, then your assumption is that the abuse is going to be 2 times a zip code with the with 10,000 tablets dispensed. So there's this proportional relationship. And what we found is that looking at the data, that kind of assumption does not hold up well. And if you think about it, when you have so much hydrocodone combination that's out there, in some zip codes, everybody in the zip code would have to be abusing it for this to be proportional. So obviously there's a kind of, just logically, I'm not a statistician, but just logically you would think you'd get to a point where things would level off, would have to level off. So we've experimented with looking at models that allow the relationship between availability and abuse in the catchment areas that we're using at this point, which is the 3-digit zip code area, to vary and for the models to reflect the actual relationship between abuse and availability. And we find we get very different different results, both pre and post period, and also within the same period. And so this is something we'll address in a publication and in the docket further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would the next speaker, for the record, please state your name, your affiliation, and any conflicts of interest.
Thank you. Paul Copland from Purdue Pharma. Similar to Dr. Butler, I wanted to address something that we didn't really discuss in the session, but is really a pivotal assumption to interpretation of the data. So it's important, we all agree it's important to adjust for utilization. But the technique that's used for adjustment of utilization makes a huge difference. So I think it's worth spending a little bit of time looking at that. And there's 2 ways it can be fitted. One is as a denominator, rate per 10,000 tablets. The other one is a covariate, such as how we adjust for age or sex in statistical models, which is essentially stratification. And the preferred metric by FDA is abuse cases per 10,000 tablets. That imposes 2 assumptions, proportionality and linearity. Proportionality means as the per unit increase in tablets dispensed, there's a unit increase in abuse. And then linearity means for the range of tablets dispensed, there's a consistent increase in the abuse cases. unfortunately, those assumptions don't fit the data. And I encourage FDA to do a goodness of fit of the data before making the decision to use abuse per 10,000 tablets. Some of the ways in which it creates a distortion can be for example, Dr. Jones was talking about the extended release hydrocodone versus immediate release hydrocodone. So you can have two patients using hydrocodone, one using an ER once a day, 60 milligram, the other one using 6 IRs. Each of them has an overdose within 30 days of use. The abuse rate in the one case is 1 out of 30. The abuse case in the other is 1 out of 180, merely by the number of tablets that they're using. This also has big implications because the preferred control group that FDA likes is ER morphine. So with ER morphine, there was over the last 7 years, there's been about a 10 to 15% increase in abuse cases. But there's also been about a 70% increase in the number of tablets dispensed. But within the tablets dispensed, there's been an increase in the lower dosage tablets, but a decrease in the higher dosage tablets. And so when adjusting for the tablets dispensed, by the covariate approach, by the denominator approach, there's a 34% decrease in ER morphine abuse over the last 7 years. But as a covariate approach, there's a 22% increase, because the covariate approach doesn't force any assumptions. It allows the model to best fit the data. So that's something we think is really important to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Copeland. Just to clarify, the comments that Dr. Copeland made, in individual conversations about individual questions, we may voice a preference for using tablets as a denominator or using ER morphine as a comparator. But just to be absolutely clear, we do not recommend as a global solution to always be using tablets as a denominator or a specific drug as a comparator. We look at these as individual questions and we tailor our advice and our thinking to that specific question. So I just want to make sure that's clear. I don't doubt that we have said that, those specific things, but they were in regard to specific issues and questions and studies. Is that, I'm looking at my team? Okay. All right, so it looks as if we're at the end of this session, unless there's another audience member that would like to make a comment. Again, I know we didn't get to all the questions in this session, but these are complicated questions. Please, I would encourage the panel, the audience, if you have things to contribute to us that have Greek letters and formulas in them, please, we'd love to see them. Please submit them to the docket, as complicated as you'd like. It is 12:30. So we will break for lunch. Lunch is on your own. I believe there's a nice map, lots of restaurants within walking distance in downtown Silver Spring. We will reconvene promptly at 1:30 to move along with session 3. Thank you so much.